Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is the 1922 silent horror classic Nosferatu. Now, I just recently reviewed the book Dracula by Bram Stoker, and since that book has had countless film adaptations of it, I wanted to review a few of the film adaptations of Dracula, so what better place to start than the first adaptation of Dracula, Nosferatu. Now, Nosferatu is considered to be the first official adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, but what's interesting, though, is from what I've heard, there actually is a movie that came out before this called Dracula's Death, but from what I've heard, that movie really has almost nothing to do with the book. Like, from what I heard, that movie only uses the name Dracula, so that's really not considered to be an adaptation of Dracula, so this is really the first official film adaptation of Dracula. Now, Bram Stoker died in 1912, and apparently he actually died of syphilis, which, that's never actually been proven, but according to what I heard, he actually died in the presence of his wife, and I actually find that to be, this might sound a little sick, but I actually always found that to be a little funny that, like, if he actually died of syphilis and he died in the presence of his wife, I mean, I could just imagine what may have been going through his wife's head at that time. She must have been like, well, you didn't get that from me, but, so unfortunately, Bram Stoker died before he got to see his book turned into a movie. Now, I believe in his lifetime there were a few play adaptations of Dracula, but in his lifetime there's never been a film adaptation of Dracula, so unfortunately he died before he got to see his work turned into a movie, and, and he died really before he got to see how legendary Dracula would really become. Now, in Stoker's lifetime, apparently his wife never really showed much interest in his work, but what happens is after he died, she actually became very protective of the copyrights of Dracula. So what happens is this movie is directed by F.W. Murnau, and F.W. Murnau wanted to make a film adaptation of Dracula, but he couldn't get the rights from Bram Stoker's wife, who apparently owned the rights to Dracula after Bram Stoker died. So what happens is he ended up making the movie anyway, but since this is a silent movie, there's no dialogue in the movie. Instead, when the characters talk, these title cards come up on the screen. So in the movie, in the original edit of this movie, the vampire was actually referred to as Count Orlok instead of Count Dracula, so he changed the name of the vampire in order to avoid copyright infringement, but unfortunately this movie was apparently still considered to be copyright infringement on the book. So from what I heard, apparently Bram Stoker's wife actually ordered all copies of this book all copies of this movie to be destroyed, but fortunately that order wasn't officially carried out, which is a good thing, because if that order was carried out, we would never see this movie today. So that's a little bit of, like, the history of this film. F.W. Murnau, he couldn't really get the copyrights for the book, so he basically made a film adaptation of the book Dracula without the permission from the person who owned the rights to the book. Nosferatu, for a film that came out in 1922, this is actually one of the creepiest films I've ever seen in my life, and this really is a genuinely creepy film. Now, since it's a silent film, they could, like, there are different edits of this movie, and in the original edit of the movie, the title cards referred to the vampire as Count Orlok, but in this particular edit of the film that I have, the vampire's referred to as Dracula like he is in the book. Now, the plot is similar to the way it was in the book, but there are a few differences. Basically, the movie is about a real estate agent who goes to see this count who wants to buy property in that real estate agent's city, but what happens is when he goes to this count's castle, he finds out that the count is actually a vampire, and of course the count ends up going to the city that this real estate agent is from, and he ends up stalking the real estate agent's fiance. So it's basically the same plot line as the book, but in this movie, when Count Orlok or Count Dracula goes to the city, he also starts spreading a plague throughout the city. But yeah, Nosferatu really is a very creepy film. Now, the actor who plays Count Orlok or Count Dracula, depending on which edit of the film you watch, the actor who plays him, Max Schreck, actually looked like the vampire does in this movie, because the vampire in this movie has a very rat-like face, and apparently actor Max Schreck actually looked like that. Like, they did use a little makeup, but apparently it was very little makeup, though. And there was actually a movie made called Shadow of the Vampire, which is a fictional story about the making of this movie, and that's a great movie, by the way. But basically, in the movie Shadow of the Vampire, according to that movie, the actor Max Schreck actually was a vampire. Of course, that's just a fictional movie, but that movie is about the making of this movie. But yeah, Nosferatu, this really is a horror classic, in my opinion. Very creepy, and I definitely recommend this movie. Now, I have the movie on this box set here called Horror Classics, and the movie is in the public domain, so you could find this movie in pretty much any of these, like, public domain box sets. I'm sure, if you look through, they have a lot of them around, so if you find a few of these, like, public domain box sets, I'm sure eventually you'll come across the movie Nosferatu. But yeah, that's my review on Nosferatu, which I think is a horror classic, and bye.